Albert, prometiste que volvías a hacer aventura conmigo y encima en León y has venido.
Me lo pasé bien, tengo que volver. No me podía quedar en casa.
Nada más empezar, ya estoy feliz.
¿Sí?
Y me hiciste caso. Mira qué colorín que has metido, que te veo la camiseta por fuera, el forro amarillo así. Tú mira cómo vamos de guapines.
Elegante.
Well, that's a great question to start with. And I say that because it allows us to link the concept of a circular economy and the concept of organic agriculture. And both concepts share a lot of the same principles. The circular economy being an economic model that wants to preserve the environment fits really nicely into the philosophy of organic agriculture. And that's because organic agriculture honors biological cycles. It reuses organic matter from agricultural production, and it eliminates synthetic fertilizers and pesticides. So it essentially follows a circular economy model. And the result of that is an agricultural system that reduces environmental impact, protects our soils, our waterways, and it produces fiber and food that consumers want. Consumers that are concerned about reducing pollution and waste and the future of this planet. So that's why brands should invest in organic cotton for their consumers as well as for this planet and its people. Yeah, consumers want organic products, and when they buy it, they want to be assured that what they buy is in fact organically produced. Now, to provide that assurance, the industry uses a certification system where independent organizations check whether organic practices are being followed at the farm, but also along the supply chain. And if so, an organic label is provided. But we need to go further than just that. And consumers expect us to. We need to make sure that organic farmers also receive a good price for their organic cotton, higher than the market price. We need to invest in the right type of training, access to the right type of seed and biopesticides, so farmers can grow organically with success, especially when you consider that more than half of the production takes place in countries where those cotton farmers are smallholders living in very poor conditions. So it's critical that we invest in that supply chain and do not just focus on the label. And that's exactly what the Organic Cotton Accelerator does and what we're here for. So we go beyond that organic label and we ensure that the industry, that the private sector invests in the farm base. Yes and no. Organic as a sustainability label actually enjoys quite a high level of consumer recognition. And that's actually more because of the food sector than the fashion sector, but it helps. What is interesting, however, in this question is that recent research from Wageningen University, published earlier this year, shows that consumers are more likely to buy a product when you combine environmental, fair trade, climate neutral certification into one individual label, more like a traffic light system, like green, yellow, red, which already exists, for example, for health scores on food. That makes it easier for consumers to go for a sustainable option. So combining labels seems to be more effective. I don't say we'll drop an organic label, but that is definitely an interesting route to explore. But if we do so, and there are talks at European level to do this, for example, in the product environmental footprint, we also should make sure that we consider a range of environmental and social benefits. So we look at the biodiversity preservation, we look at reducing GHG emissions, we look at pollution, water, soil health, human health, and fair pay. So a lot of elements you need to bring together if you want to talk about sustainability. And that's the current challenge also in regulating these type of claims. Yeah, it happens more and more, but not enough yet. This actually is exactly what we aim to promote as the Organic Cotton Accelerator in our programs. We link brands and retailers in fashion, apparel, textiles directly with organic producer groups in India, also Pakistan, not just to create transparency, but also to ensure that at the end of the value chain, those brands and retailers share in the risk and actually reward organic practices on the ground and invest in training and inputs, etc., so that farmers can grow organic successfully. It's not just asking, you have to also give, and that's what we help the industry doing. But it certainly can step up its game. There's quite a popular saying, at least here in the Netherlands, where I'm from, and it goes, "Those with the broadest shoulders bear the heaviest burden." And I am a strong believer in that saying. And if you translate that to the fashion industry, I mean, it's the brands, it's those multinational brands and retailers that have those broadest shoulders. Particularly when you compare it to the start of the supply chain for cotton, where a lot of cotton comes from poor smallholder farmers in the global south. So definitely that responsibility is for a big part on those multinational companies. But I also hope that more and more government regulation will come in, because that's definitely the actor that could really change the game. And for years we've been working on voluntary market action, industry action, but those companies alone are not going to get us there fast enough with their own work. So we really need governments to step in as well. Well, at the Organic Cotton Accelerator, we believe that that's an investment that we should be making together as a sector. First of all, and with together, I mean the entire supply chain, and again, from brand to retailer to, of course, obviously the farmer itself, but also philanthropic organizations, donors, governments. And when doing so, first of all, it's important that we ensure that there's a clear business case for farmers to grow organically or sustainably. Farmers need to feel confident that their livelihood is protected. To do so, at least within our programs, we make sure that our contributors, our partners, make purchase commitments to those organic farmer groups against a better price, so a higher price than what the market normally gives for conventional cotton, which gives farmers a sense of security and takes away part of the risk. But we also need to support farmers to switch, especially when they switch from conventional production to organic production. We want to make that a simpler choice. And we work with a network of great local partners, our implementing partners, farmer producer organizations, local civil society organizations, traders, and they work one-on-one with the farmers to offer them training, to offer them assistance in adopting new practices, and also to give them access to, for example, non-genetically modified seed, so organic cotton seed, other bio inputs that they need to switch to organic agriculture with success. Yeah. Well, inflation hits every sector, and in line with that, also raw material prices are increasing. Cotton is no exception. Actually, cotton has already seen that price increase, and organic cotton even more than that. Over the past 2 years, it has increased beyond those price increases that we see for conventional cotton, and that's also because there's a shortage of supply. There's a large demand for organically produced cotton. There's less supply, and this also showcases, well, it's actually a perfect motivation for us to invest in helping more farmers convert from conventional to organic cotton. That question, I mean, and is up to the brands. It's their pricing strategy. Some will absorb it, and some will indeed charge higher prices due to the higher cost of organic. But that's their decisions. But if you ask me, though, if you really think about it, it's actually quite bizarre, even that products that are better for the earth and people are more expensive in our economic system. I mean, if we would price in the cost of those externalities of pollution, etc., of, for example, conventional agriculture, products would be more expensive compared to organic production. So I think if you ask me about price and the cost to consumers, I think the real interesting question is actually, why is it more expensive now to produce in a better way? And shouldn't we be looking at true cost of a product and tell that fair story and price it that way? Oh, I would hope to see a world where natural fibers are much more prominent in apparel and textiles. And that's not just cotton, that's linen, wool, hemp, alpaca, you name it. But unfortunately, in recent decades, the trend has been the absolute reverse, right? At the start of the century, polyester overtook cotton as the most in-demand fiber. Most textiles today are made of synthetic fibers, which are produced from oil and gas. And the industry isn't moving fast enough to stop this overproduction of synthetics and the resulting microfiber crisis, huge waste, and they're not reducing this over-reliance on plastic, essentially plastic fibers. If we want natural fibers and organic cotton included, right, to take over from polyester, again, we need governments to step in and develop legislation that slows down fashion and decouples it from fossil fuels. The upcoming EU textile strategy is a good opportunity for that. And I hope governments worldwide follow that example and commit to more ambitious legislation for the textile sector. Always, and absolutely. So there's much innovation potential in the agricultural sector, also in organic, and it's actually much needed as well. Just to give an example, to make sure that farmers are able to adapt in this time of climate change. I mean, a lot of farmers across the world, not just in cotton-producing countries, everywhere are facing drought, dry spells, huge rains, unpredictable weather patterns, and they need to adapt to that. And that's partly through innovations, both old and actually new. So innovations can also be old practices being reinstalled in agriculture. For example, one of the things we're doing is developing and introducing seed varieties that are more drought tolerant, or we help farmers introduce practices like cover cropping, mixed cropping, a more diversified farm system, but also using satellite imagery and new tech tools to predict and prepare for upcoming weather patterns in a better way, or trial new traceability solutions in the raw material space. So a lot of innovation, and we'll definitely need that. And maybe last but not least, I also hope recycling of natural fibers improves and increases. Yeah. Yeah. I hope to see a fashion industry that works within the boundaries of this planet instead of exploiting it, because that's the dominant model today. I hope to see an industry that respects the people along its supply chain. And that means a sector that has curbed its massive overproduction and that is working within the principles of a circular economy and that reduces its environmental footprint. For example, also through sustainable natural materials. And organic cotton is just one of them. Well, I say I hope to see a fashion industry like that in 30 years, but I think actually we should say we need to see a fashion industry like that today. That's the only option. If fashion, just like any other industry sector, does not make that shift, the future of this planet and of fashion itself will be quite dystopic. And I don't think I'm being dramatic there. I think we're seeing that and feeling that today. So everybody of our generation should stress that urgency, should demand that change, both from the private sector as well as from our governments. I would definitely go for natural materials with a big potential for recycling and that are made from a circular from design, but also really incentivize my consumers to reuse, to reduce consumption, and that's hard. So I know that to really embody sustainability fully as a company nowadays, you're hindered by the economic system. So I also, and that's where my call for both industry action and government action come in, because if the level playing field doesn't change, taking real sustainability action as a company, as a fashion brand, is very hard to let it work for you economically, because the real winners are still on the other side of the playing field. Yes, it wouldn't hurt. So organic is already quite protected in the law, although for organic textiles, also in the European market, that could be improved. And sustainability as such, absolutely. I mean, and I think at least also, again, referring to the European example, that type of legislation is coming. And the industry is working on it, especially the fashion sector, for example, through the product environmental footprint that I just mentioned. And there it becomes interesting because we start for the first time defining really what sustainability means, what an environmental footprint is. And then you need to be super aware and awake that we include all dimensions of sustainability. And don't just look at life cycle assessments, which really value carbon and water use, but also include aspects like biodiversity, which are left out of a life cycle assessment, or social components. And that would definitely bring us a step further.
Albert, prometiste que volvías a hacer aventura conmigo y encima en León y has venido.
Me lo pasé bien, tengo que volver. No me podía quedar en casa.
Nada más empezar, ya estoy feliz.
¿Sí?
Me hiciste caso. Mira qué colorín que has metido, que te veo la camiseta por fuera, el forro amarillo así. Tú mira cómo vamos de guapines.
Elegante.